everyone, and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage. I'm Sean.
And I'm Tennille.
And we watch every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. And today, we are going back to Japan for what I believe is... China. Going back to China for what I believe is the second time so far on Animation Pilgrimage. Mm-hmm. And we are watching another adaptation of Journey to the West. That being said, we're getting an adaptation of a different part of the story, and this one is called Uproar in Heaven.
Yes.
Or Havoc in Heaven, depending on how it's translated.
For the sake of consistency, I'm going to say it's Uproar in Heaven.
Okay.
Because that seems to be what I see most of the time on most of the promotional material, although I do see Havoc quite frequently as well. We're gonna go with Uproar in Heaven.
Alright. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think this movie might have set a record. Mm-hmm. Just right off the bat, this movie set a record for what I believe was the longest film we've watched so far in Animation Pilgrimage.
I mean, Heaven and Earth Magic's original cut is 6 hours long.
No. We watched the hour-long cut. I don't count that.
Yeah.
Of the actual cut we watched.
Yeah, I think this might be the longest film we've watched. With that being said, though...
It was 2 movies, wasn't it?
It was 2 movies.
That's what I thought.
Well, it was... Sort of.
It's a part 1 and part 2.
Part 1 came out when it was finished in 1961.
Okay.
Boop. And then they finished part 2, and then they both played back to back. Then they recut the film, so it's both of those.
All right.
And also, the version we watched is essentially like a director's cut.
So it's the longer version of the 2 films together.
Exactly. There's been numerous re-edits of this film. We watched the one, just to specify what one we watched a fan-translated version of the film that was on YouTube. Mm-hmm.
It was 1 hour and 54 minutes long.
Yes. And there are other versions of it, but this is a film that hasn't ever really been...
re-released officially?
Re-released officially to the West.
Okay.
It has been re-released in other countries. It's actually supposedly a film that's done quite well in Russia.
Okay.
And, other Eastern countries. But it's never really been translated to English.
Okay.
Which is why we watched the fan translation. But, it's had multiple... edits throughout the years, and some of them would probably fix a few complaints that we had about the film.
Let me guess, they redid the audio in some of them.
I don't know about that, but there are versions of the film where essentially it's the same thing we watched, but it's now 96 minutes because they sped up the action scenes.
Oh, okay. They cut out quite a bit of it?
They sped up some of the animation, did some editing, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, that's probably my biggest complaint about this movie is it drags a lot because it's 1 hour and 54 minutes. And even if you consider it 2 hour-long films, there just really isn't a whole lot that actually happens in this movie.
Right.
I guess... For that sake, we should probably talk about the plot of this movie.
Yeah, we should go ahead and give a little plot summary.
This probably won't take long.
Yeah, this takes place essentially, from what I can tell, in the first few chapters of Journey to the West.
Okay, that feels about right.
Yeah.
Because we only ever talk about it's only about Sun Wukong in this movie.
Yeah.
So...
He never meets the monk. He's never sent on a quest to...
Journey to the West.
Yeah.
He doesn't meet the pig guy or the other guy or anyone else. It's just Sun Wukong running around in heaven. I don't know what they...
Causing trouble for the Jade Emperor.
Yep. So anyways, the movie starts with Sun Wukong. He's already the Monkey King. He's already super strong and amazing and great. And he realizes that his sword is garbage and it breaks because it's not good enough for him. So he decides to go to the Sea Dragon King's castle under the ocean, which conveniently he can swim and breathe forever and whatever. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it. He can also fly and go to space, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
That's the kind of logic this movie works on.
Yeah, magic!
Anyways, he goes down there and he's like, hey, you guys have some great weapons down here. So the Dragon King is like, fine, yeah, we'll give you this weapon. And he's like, well, this is garbage, this is too light, give me another one. And he does it a couple of times, and then he's like, fine!
Yeah, he keeps asking for heavier and heavier weapons.
And it's like, multiple people are carrying it out, and he's just flinging it around like it's nothing. He's like, this is garbage because I'm amazing and strong and quick and amazing. So the sea dragon's like, all right, come over here. You see that giant pole there? That is the pin that holds the ocean in place or something like that. I didn't quite understand what it was going for.
I don't really understand the significance of it.
But it was the ocean's pin.
Other than, like the Dragon King doesn't actually want to give it to him. It's just... haha, I'm going to best Sun Wukong by giving him something that he obviously can't lift.
He can't lift this. And so Sun Wukong is like, wow, this is like the right weight for me. This is amazing. If only it was a little smaller. And then it shrinks. And because it's the amazing extending pole thing that Sun Wukong always has. Mm-hmm. So Sun Wukong shrinks it down, the ocean...
It's magic. It has like a little inscription on the side that says, if thee be a Gary stew... I will grant thee thy wish.
If you are amazing and cool and awesome and amazing, I'll do your bidding.
Right.
And the Monkey King is like, I'm an amazing and cool and awesome, amazing and cool guy, so yeah, it's mine now. Uh-huh. And then the ocean gets like off kilter or something. It's not really explained what really happens there. And it's like, wait, you can't take that, says the Sea Dragon. And the Monkey King says, who cares? I'm amazing and I'm taking it anyways.
All right, how many times are you going to say amazing, awesome?
Probably a lot, because that's this character.
Uh-huh. Okay, anyway.
Moving on.
Speeding things up, because you said this wouldn't take very long.
Okay. The rest of it won't take very long.
True, this is like the setup.
This is the setup. This is all like the first 15 minutes of this movie. After this... the characters in heaven are like, wait, there's this monkey guy down on Earth who's really amazing and he'll probably cause us trouble, but we can stop this by making him a minor deity in heaven, and then he'll be satiated. And so they do this, and the Monkey King's like, sure, I'll be your horse keeper or whatever.
Well, and the Dragon King like comes up to heaven to complain about him, and
that's what gets it all started to begin with. So he's like, cool, I'll be your horse keeper, and then... someone's like, you're under my control because I'm higher rank than you. And the Monkey King's like, no, you're not. And goes back to, like, destroys the stables and goes to Earth again. And everyone's like, well, crap, that wasn't good. So...
go figure.
And now the Monkey King's declaring him just as good as the Jade Emperor, who is the king of heaven or whatever.
Right.
So the general of heaven is like, all right, we're just going to go beat him up so he doesn't do any more of this garbage. Doesn't work. He bests both of the guys he sends after him.
They don't resort to violence right away. They try again to...
do they?
Yeah, because then they put him in charge of the peach garden.
Well, no, that's later.
There's a fight?
Yeah, there's a fight at the end of the first half.
Oh, yeah.
Which doesn't work. So then we get to the second half where they do the same thing again, except this time he's in charge of the immortal peach garden. Mm-hmm. And it can give you, like, they have so many different descriptions of, like, these peaches that take either 500, 1,000, 3,000 years.
A long time.
A long, long time. And they, like, give you immortality and the godhood, essentially, and
stuff like that. They make your farts smell good. They're magic.
They make you even cooler and amazing and awesome and amazing that you already are. So he goes and he's like, cool, I'm in charge of the peaches, and he eats a lot of peaches. And then people come along and like, yeah, we're having a peach party, but you're not invited because you're just the peach keeper. You're not important. And so wouldn't you know it, Sun Wukong gets angry, goes to the party, wrecks everything, gets really drunk, steals all the food, goes somewhere else, steals the magic beans, energy, gold pills.
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what this is about.
Well, this is probably just my, like, European-centric brain thinking, but it makes me think of, like, alchemy and how gold was seen as, like, a perfect metal or something like that. And so, by eating it...
He's becoming perfect or amazing or something.
Yeah.
But it's specifically for the Emperor himself. This is my anime speaking. But because Dragon Ball is based on the story of Journey to the West, there are a lot of characters and allegories that they pull from there, even if they go in a wildly different direction.
You think this is like an allegory for like the Dragon Balls?
No, I think this is an allegory for the sensu beans.
Okay, I don't know enough about Dragon Ball to know what that
sensu
is.
beans are these magical beans that heal you. No matter how hurt you are, doesn't matter if you have a giant hole in your chest, you eat one, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of wondering if that's what this is. I could be wildly wrong here. If anyone knows more about Journey to the West, please let us know.
Yeah, how off are we in our guesses?
But either way, they're amazing god beans or pills or whatever they were.
Yeah.
So he eats all of those.
They definitely have some kind of medical purpose.
Yes.
Because, like,
they refer to them
the
as
language,
pills. Yeah,
they use definitely refers to them as some kind of medicine that the Jade Emperor is eating.
Oh, just going off on a small tangent here about the Jade Emperor. This guy does not give a crap about what's going on. Like, seriously, all of his advice...
He's swayed by the last suggestion that happened.
He's like, monkey, let's kill him or something. And the other person's like, wait, no, let's not kill him. Let's invite him to heaven and make him a minor deity. And it's like, yeah, sure, okay, let's do that. No, wait, we should kill him instead. All right, let's try that. This literally is how anything happens in this place because he just does not care.
The only time he cares is when Sun Wukong destroys his party.
Yeah. So, yeah, he destroys the party. Everyone in heaven's like, what? This isn't cool. So they go...
Our sick party, yo, we were going to eat peaches.
Eat peaches and get drunk and do all these other things. So Sun Wukong's on the ground, partying with all of his monkey subordinates because
because he brought peaches back.
Oh, he brought peaches back where he reverse grew a tree, which was amusing to watch. But he also just like brought all of the food and wine and everything with him. I'm assuming it's actually like sake or something. But no,
probably.
It's China. I don't know. Alcoholic beverages. I don't know what the alcoholic beverage term for China is.
Get your mind out of Japan.
I can't help it. Either way, heaven sends all of its forces this time. And then we get another extended fight sequence where they only just barely beat Sun Wukong by hitting him in the back of the head while he's distracted.
And they beat him for like...
All of
10 seconds.
10 seconds when he's tied to a pole and they try to kill him multiple ways by like... decapitating him and shooting arrows at him. Everything gets destroyed and he's just like, whatever. Because I'm amazing and awesome and cool.
Amazing and cool.
That these things aren't going to affect him at all. So then they throw him in a furnace and burn it to like white hot, which honestly I like that effect where like it just kept getting hotter.
Oh yeah.
That was a cool transition visually. It does nothing. Because he just gets out and, like, immediately is like, all right, now I'm going to wreck all of heaven.
Yeah.
And then he does so.
Yeah.
And then that's when the Jade Emperor is like, oh, this is a bad thing, and runs away. It's the first time he's moved out of his chair the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then he goes back down to his mountain and is the best and amazing and ever and will always be the greatest. The end.
Yep.
That's the movie. All of that trickery and then him beating stuff up and then fighting people and then trickery and then beating stuff up and fighting people takes up the entire movie.
Yeah.
Except for the first 15 minutes where he just goes and gets a new weapon.
Yeah, like there's a couple of minor things that we skipped. Like the ladies come, like the women fairies, whatever, coming into the garden.
And then they sing a song for no reason.
Yeah.
The colors of the rainbow or something. But they never stand in rainbow order, which really bugged me.
I never noticed, I don't remember the rainbow bit, but I guess they were, weren't they?
Yeah, like there was red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, purple, violet. I don't know. There's like 6 of them, and they were a rainbow. They were a chromatic scale, and they never stood in that order. It bugged the hell out of me. Even when they're like flying through the air and stuff.
You're like, just once, please.
This is setting me off kilter.
Scratch this itch.
So yeah, there were a few moments of like really well done animation.
Well, in general, I want to give props to the art direction.
Yeah.
The art direction was really good for this film. And honestly, now knowing that parts 1 and part 2 were animated several years apart,
I can tell.
You can tell, but
it's
it
not
still
so noticeable.
Feels like a pretty cohesive film.
Yeah. It's like, it feels like there was just a break, a momentary pause, and
the biggest thing I noticed when it went from part 1 from part 2 is a change in backgrounds.
It's like they didn't necessarily get better or worse. They just, they have a different art style.
Yeah. Which that might be because they actually had a different background artists, or it might just be because
the background artists got better.
Yeah, they changed their style and stuff. And either way, I don't have any complaints.
No, it's just like, oh, this feels different, and I'm not sure why, and that would explain it.
Yeah, but this is China's second film. The last film we watched was Princess Iron Fan. This is
which was black and white.
Huge improvement.
Yes.
Huge.
I mean, that being said, I don't remember if there were any films in between there that we weren't able to get our hands on, because it's very possible.
Yeah.
But that's just going to happen here on Animation Pilgrimage. There's just going to be films we can't find.
But
so for what we've seen on Animation Pilgrimage,
exactly,
the jump is amazing. I think it was like, what? It was probably like 2 decades ago? Was Princess Iron Fan...
That was in the 40s.
That was in the 40s. So yeah, that was like the first decade that we saw it. That film was still in black and white. The audio quality was terrible. The camera made us nauseous.
Yeah, they were using rotoscoping a lot, which isn't a bad thing, but like
super obvious rotoscoping.
Yeah, and there was other problems with it. You'll have to go back to that episode where we talk about it to get the full story there. But yeah, this is a huge improvement, and I don't want to diminish that, but I do have a few problems with the film. And one of the biggest ones, even though their audio is much better, it's still the audio.
Yes.
Because they decided to go with very traditional...
Chinese instrumentation?
Yes. And a lot of that includes banging cymbals and like woodblock.
Yeah, woodblock sounds, or... I don't know the specific names of the instruments that they use, but it's like the closest thing is like cymbals and like wooden clacking sounds that are really loud. So it's just a bunch of really sharp banging in your ears
constantly
the entire movie.
Yeah, it's like there was one point I remember, I think it was in part 2, where they moved to a softer, quieter. I remember they moved to drums. Yes. And I was so relieved. It was like a 20-second drum solo. And I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Right, because like the army was coming out of the sky and they were using their war drums.
Yeah. I'm like,
oh, yes.
Drums. Like, this is such a softer instrument on my ears.
But the cymbals and woodblock are just like signify the movement of anyone. Like, someone's moving... apparently underneath their clothes they're just wearing cymbals everywhere. It's just like one of those big cymbal suits or something, so it's just like tang, 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 tang.
Yeah, well, and then the music didn't progress with like if there was a rise in action. It's not like that always necessarily meant that the music was also going to rise with that action. Sometimes Sun Wukong was just like futzing around with something, like sitting on the floor and eating food, and then all of a sudden the music would go nuts, and I'm like, please, why? I'm already so tired of listening to the cymbals and the wood blocks.
It's so constant that they're obviously trying to help enhance the story through the music, but they keep using the same exact instrumentation for everything, so you get lost what the meaning is supposed to be behind this particular pattern of clanging.
Right. And I'm sure it would mean more to us if we were a Chinese audience.
Yeah, especially at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure if you showed this to a Chinese audience today, I bet even they would say, okay, yeah, the cymbals are a bit much.
Are a bit much. Yeah, I would honestly really like to watch this film again without that instrumentation. Just some like nice, quiet background music or like ambience.
Even if they did the whole movie in just drums.
Yeah, I think I would enjoy it a lot more. And also, there were... Like, the animation's not perfect. I don't expect it to be. It's so much better than it was in Lady Iron Fan.
Yes. Princess Iron Fan.
Princess Iron Fan.
Whatever.
There was some really great animation.
Yeah, like one thing that immediately stood out to me, but it's probably just because it's an incredibly fluid motion, is in the second half, at one point, Sun Wukong is fighting a snake. And the snake is just like zipping around and it looks great.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. But there's a lot of... Whenever there's action sequences, more often than not, they look good.
Well, and there's some clever uses of limited animation in different spots too. Or like they'll loop some animation and it doesn't always work, but like I feel like they were experimenting with this film in that regards. And as the film continues, like I can see them get better at it.
Yes. Yeah, it's like you can feel the artists getting better at their craft throughout the course of this movie. Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy for everyone that worked on this movie.
Yeah. And again, I really, really dig the art direction.
Yeah.
The art direction is on point.
We have not talked about that a lot, but it all looks very traditionally Chinese. Like every character is very curved and no one ever like doesn't just stand, like they're
static.
They're often in like varied poses that you would find on any Chinese tapestry and stuff. And that's because a lot of the characters that they're depicting are traditional Chinese characters.
Yeah.
And they're like gods and stuff, or spirits of higher power. I don't know how they refer to them. But so they'll stand in specific ways with their arms and poses, and like that's how they stand all the time and things. It's like, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah. If it wasn't clear from the plot summary, though, I am getting tired of Journey into the West already.
Specifically Sun Wukong.
Yeah.
The only one that I liked Sun Wukong in was Alakazam the Great.
Right.
But that's only because the movie had him go through some sort of character arc.
They Americanized the crap out of it, and they gave Sun Wukong a character arc, which
I don't know.
To us, it feels better.
Yes. So we don't. Again, just going back to Alakazam the Great. I don't know if that character arc was inserted heartily for the American audience, or if that was in the original Japanese cut of the film. We'll never know until we find the Japanese version of it.
Right. It's hard to imagine it without that, though, just giving the framing device and everything.
The framing device of the entire film and just like how the movie felt as a whole. It's like, even if the movie was silent, I can't imagine that they shifted around that much stuff.
Right. To somehow... create a whole character arc from nothing.
Also, there was one fight in this movie which I think I could directly correlate to who he was fighting in Alakazam the Great.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have a transformation off, where...
Unless that's just a thing that happens often.
Often in these movies, but there's at one point where it's an extended fight, like, it's probably the longest fight in this movie. He's fighting some guy, I don't know what his name is, but he's got some sort of pole arm, and I think he was the guy that started with the snake.
Mm-hmm.
But then, near the end of the battle, they're, like, transforming into different animals and stuff until Monkey King wins.
Yeah.
And I can correlate that right back to Alakazam the Great, where the English team decided to call this character Hercules. Stand back, I am Hercules! Dead serious, that's his line.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and I guess I want to make myself a little bit more clear. The reason Sun Wukong is getting tiresome in these films is because there's absolutely no stakes when Sun Wukong does something.
Because he's going to win.
Right. It's just like, I can hardly be invested because Sun Wukong's so cocky, so arrogant. It's not like he's ever going to learn his lesson, or... Because oftentimes it's framed that he doesn't need to learn a lesson. People just need to realize how great Sun Wukong is.
Yeah. It's like the only thing that Sun Wukong is not perfect at in this movie is that he's kind of naive.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
He's not the smartest, but he's definitely the strongest, the fastest, the most powerful character. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that, like, Goku is a good analogy, or like a good adaptation of this character.
Yeah.
Because that's one of his character traits. He's charming because he's an idiot.
Right. He's just super naive.
Mm-hmm. So...
And I think my tone is a little...
Harsher than
how
we really feel about this movie?
About it, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I think this movie is perfectly fine. I think it's probably above the halfway mark of all the movies we've watched so far. It's the biggest problem is they just kind of all blur together now.
Yeah.
Especially when you just talk about, all right, let's talk about the Journey to the West adaptations. And I'm like, oh, God.
Well,
which one was which?
They're all very different.
They're all very different at this point.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I know we have more in the future because this is such a popular story. Mm-hmm. If no one did another adaptation of Journey to the West in the next, see, we're in 64 right now.
Yeah.
In the next 52 years between then and now, I would be shocked. Also, we still have 52 years till we get to the present day.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, by the time we get to the present day, we're probably going to be a few years farther on.
But we're also doing, like current movie reviews and stuff.
Yes, that's true.
Anyway, you want to hear about some stuff about this film, some history?
Yes, so you actually were able to find some stuff about this movie.
Yeah.
Cool, because, I mean, very often we can't find stuff about movies from other countries.
Yes, so, turns out, Wan Guchen of the Wan Brothers and one of the animators of the feature film Princess Iron Fan began planning production for this film after Princess Iron Fan released in 1941.
So one of the guys that helped make this movie was on
Princess
the
Iron
Fan
Fan
team.
And they started working on this film right after they finished Princess Iron Fan.
Holy crap, that's a long time to work on a film.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you remember, but wasn't Princess Iron Fan pretty much like a family project?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like just like 5 family members that were all related or something that worked on that film.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
Like, look how far they've come.
Yeah, I'm assuming they did other stuff in the meantime.
Yeah.
Like animated shorts and other things.
Mm-hmm. This is actually, from what I can tell, a very popular movie in China, or at the very least, it was at the time of its release.
I mean, that makes sense, because this is really their first big animated film. Because, I mean, Princess Iron Fan existed, but the quality is not great.
Right.
So, I mean, this movie definitely has all the qualities it needs for a great animated film.
Yeah, and...
Especially a first.
It actually has 2 loose sequels based off of it that we'll probably be seeing in the future.
Because they're theatrically released?
I think they are.
Cool. As long as we can find them.
But they're sequels that we won't see until 1981 and 1985.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Are we going to remember that those are related to this movie by the time we get there?
I don't know.
Because
we'll see.
80s are going to be a busy time.
But the most interesting thing about this film is, I'm just going to read directly from Wikipedia here, because I think
it wraps it up, or like it says it best.
The name of the movie became a colloquialism in the Chinese language to describe someone making a mess. Countless cartoon adaptations that followed have reused the same classic story from Journey into the West, yet many consider this 1964 iteration to be the most original, fitting, and memorable. And at the time, the film was also used as a joke metaphor for the havoc being caused by Mao Zedong in Heaven, China.
Mao Zedong.
Yeah, which...
So I'm assuming he was the current leader of China at the time?
The leader of the Communist Party.
Okay.
Because this film marks the end of the second golden age of Chinese filmmaking. And from what I've read, I don't know a whole lot about the history of Chinese filmmaking, but from what I've read, it sounds like a year or two after this film released,
Communist Party takes over,
and the Chinese filmmaking industry
tanks,
gets shut down.
Oh.
Just like, full stop.
Doesn't tank, just goes away.
Yeah, just goes away.
Right. They were super harsh communism. And, I mean, still are, but have backed off a bit in recent years. Oh, God. So we're not going to see anything from China for a while, are we?
Well, that's why I think we've got the loose sequels based on this film don't come until much, much later.
I mean, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. But isn't that interesting?
Holy crap. Wow. Man, communism sucks. I just want to... This seems like a good time to talk about it, because China just released their second animated film here, as far as we know. And it's pretty good. There are definite problems with it, but it's a good movie.
Well, yeah, they've still got, like, so much room to grow.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
like, they're showing some pretty great promise
Amazing
here.
potential.
Yeah.
Communists take over, shut down all movie industry.
Yeah.
Let's look at the USSR. They have a thriving animated community with multiple movies coming out every single year. And then at some point in there, I don't know if a new regime took over or if the current regime just took an interest in the animated movies or whatever, but there's just a hard shift into communist propaganda. And then it goes away.
Yeah, animation goes away.
Away. We haven't gotten there quite yet, but we've been looking at what movies we're seeing in the future, and it goes away soon.
Yeah. There's a big difference, though, between what happened in China and what happened in Russia, though. And in China, yeah, movies just kind of went away after communism took place. But in Russia, animation continued thriving because communism was in place.
Okay.
And yes, it became a lot more political leaning, but that's because literally the government was paying for these movies to be made.
And they wouldn't fly unless they had that in there. More often than not, I'm sure. It's probably
that's
something
what I get, yes, from looking at the research. Our Russian viewers can probably
fill us in more.
Yeah, inform us more about
I can only assume it's something along the lines of, yeah, we'll pay you all this money to make this movie, but right here in the contract it has to say something good about the government or communism in general, or we want this message in the movie somehow. Otherwise, we're pulling the plug on the movie.
I mean, essentially think of it as how...
I mean, the movie industry often works, even in America.
Well, think about it as how seeing what happened to the Walt Disney Company when World War II started, and we saw the U.S. infiltrate Walt Disney Studios, and, you know, we got films like Three Caballeros, Saludos Amigos,
where
and stuff like that.
A very different thing from what Disney had been doing, and it was all very nice and cheap and good and wholesome. And then there was also just straight propaganda in their shorts. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was... Man, military intervention into media...
Into art
is...
a complicated subject that we aren't...
I don't feel equipped to talk about.
To talk about, yeah.
It's like, I have feelings about it, but I don't feel like I have enough of all the information to properly talk about it online. Because until that point, a lot of it's just my opinions.
Yeah, and so much of it is so far in the past and still so hard to really know what happened.
Like, piece out what exactly happened.
Because
documentation is not as good.
I have a hard time researching a lot of the Russian films because a lot of that history hasn't really been translated to English very well.
Or it's just gone.
Yeah, or is, you know, translated very loosely to English. But I mean, even the stuff here in America or in Britain or wherever, that history can be hard to get a hold of too, because, you know, at this point it's like 70, 80 years old, and it's hard knowing what happened.
Mm-hmm. And how much of that information has been
altered,
kept in books,
secret,
or made it onto the internet as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, this has been a weird episode.
Yeah.
Like, we went places. But I think that's probably a good way to wrap this all up. Would you recommend this movie?
Sure.
Just note that it is 2 hours long, and it does drag. But if you want to like expose yourself to something like the actual art direction and animation, do so.
I say this often, but if what we said sounded appealing to you, check this out.
Indeed. So
now, all of that talking about, you know, communism and government mingling and all that.
Interfering.
Next week, we have another USSR film, Lefty.
Join us back here then.